joined with Swindon promoter Mark Neilson. Mark, it's been a while. How have you been doing?
Well, I'm okay. I mean, I just can't wait to everything open up again. I think, like so many people, we're just getting a bit tired of it now. You know, we're sticking to the rules as we should be, and I'm working from home. My wife's working from home. My 3 kids are homeschooling. So, but the sun's out, spring is here. So we're looking forward to brighter times ahead this year for sure.
I see we're both joining the Lockdown Beard Club.
Yeah.
Are you going to keep it? Are you going to slay it once we get let out?
Well, I've had a bit of growth actually for quite a while, but it's I'm not as disciplined and keeping on top of it as I used to be, and definitely need a haircut. I've had a couple of little mishaps where I've got the kids with the clippers and stuff like that. So we're glad when the barbers are open, just to start looking a bit more presentable every day.
Kids with clippers, it sounds like dangerous times.
It's very dangerous.
It's been 16 months since the last installation of the Fight Town series, and a lot has changed, hasn't it? How frustrating has it been, the shutdown of boxing really in the small halls?
Well, I mean, we were really frustrated for the Fight Town element of it because we were just getting to get some momentum going, weren't we? The shows were getting better. We were getting bigger crowds. I mean, we did our first pro show, I think, 2016, 17, having done sort of the white collar for years. And obviously we started off with sort of small beginnings. So we had to make our name, and we started right at the bottom. By the time of, the Fight Town shows at the beginning of last year, November 2019, I think the last one was, we had one scheduled for March, April, which got cancelled. The momentum was great. We were getting boxers, trainers, managers contacting us, wanting to put their guys on the bill. We've had Commonwealth, we've had, WBC Youth, we've had Commonwealth Eliminators, Commonwealth titles. We were doing well, and it's such a shame to sort of lose the momentum a little bit. But same for everyone. I feel more for the boxers because it's their livelihood. It's it's what they do every day. What a lot of them, what they get out of bed for, and it's what drives them. And some of them were perhaps just starting on the cusp of some really good things. Some of them are a bit older and were sort of racing against time, and now they've lost the year, which is a shame for them. So I feel for the boxers, but good things are coming, I think, now.
Yeah, and I guess we'll do a bit of doom and gloom first. Let's get that out of the way, because it's the fight landscape around here has changed quite a bit. So the first thing is the shutdown of the main boxing venue, which is the Oasis. What do you make of the Oasis closing and its impact?
On a personal level for boxing, it's devastating really, because as I said, we were getting the momentum going on these shows, and the Oasis is by far the biggest capacity venue locally. On our biggest shows, we get 2,000 in there. There's just nowhere else around. And we've considered all the options because we've been putting shows on since early 2000s. And we've looked at Link Centre and putting a cover on the ice rink. We've looked at Dorking Dome and putting a ring in the middle of there. We've looked everywhere. So the Oasis is by far the most suitable, fit for purpose venue for the high volume, for the 2,000. It's gone. So it's a devastating blow on the boxing side, I think. Obviously, it's a blow for the community because they're losing all the facilities that it's offered. But on the boxing level, really big blow.
And maybe we'll come back to venue shortly. So there is a Save Swindon group on Twitter if anyone fancies joining that. But hopefully, eventually the Oasis Leisure Centre will be saved. But we'll cross our fingers on that one. So the next big change is, I guess, the most nationally well-known trainer, not the only trainer in Swindon, but the most nationally well-known pro trainer in Swindon, Paddy Fitzpatrick, is no longer training pros.
Yeah, it's a surprise, I think, for everyone. Me and Paddy were working together really well on the Fight Town series because that was a joint sort of working relationship we had. And it was going great guns, and the future looked really good. So I think he announced that in the summer last year, when we were able to still go and see each other. We had went round for a cup of coffee, and he told me his decision. So it was a shock. But anyone who knows Paddy, he's a deep thinker. He's a sort of spiritual man, and not everyone, I don't think, understands sort of what goes on in the mind of Paddy. But I think he wants to. I think there's more to life, and he wants to give back. So he's doing what he's doing. I think he's going to get a school for sort of disadvantaged kids, and he's going to sort of spend his life giving back where he can, which is quite admirable. For boxing, it's a bit of a shame because he's been around. His CV, his resume is brilliant, isn't it? It's the who's who of boxing. He's been he's a bit of a legend, such a big name to have locally, and now he's just this for no other reason, and he's wants to make different choices, which is quite unusual, isn't it? To get
That's
out,
right, yeah.
And there was some really, some of his fighters were on the cusp of some really big things. So it's a shame, it's a blow, it's really disappointing for us, but the boxers are still boxing, we'll still be boxing, and we'll see what the future brings.
Yeah, and wish him all the best with his plans to launch the Educational Institute for Young People. And if you're around the Ferndale area and looking for schooling for a youngster in 2021, give Paddy's Place a look as it comes up. The last then, I guess the last kind of a bit of a sad one really, but over the last 14 years, Jamie Cox has been a nationally recognised fighter out of Swindon, and he's held light middleweight titles at Commonwealth level, and boxed some big names, George Groves, John Ryder.
Yeah.
And he looked initially like he was going to carry on with Richard Farnan, and then all of a sudden it was all over, and he announced his decision to retire. What do you make of Jamie's decision to call it a day now?
Well, it was a surprise for me. I mean, I don't know the reasoning behind his decision personally, but he's the best fighter to come out of Swindon, that's for sure. He's a world title challenger. That's as high as you can get. One behind winning a world title, because he's a world title challenger. And he's still at the top of his game. I could see him having another 1 or 2 fights and then being in the mix for another world title shot. I think, he's working quite well with Eddie Hearn. He's got an awful lot of middles and super middles. There's some good fights to be made. And if he could get through a couple of those, top 10 ranked fighters, there's a world title challenge for him, isn't there? So it seems, which is very lucrative. So when you're a fighter who's just hit the top, and he's obviously done well out of boxing, certainly in the last few big fights he's had, but to walk away when they were still there on the table, and I haven't heard about any medical reason that he's pulled away. It's a surprise, I'll be honest, but I don't think, when boxing's in you, and it's been in you, he's been boxing since a kid, isn't he? When he starts to see it all back open again and see some of the opportunities, and he'll be sat there watching TV thinking, I could beat him, I could beat him, I could beat him. And he's young enough. It's not as if he's like a late 30s and, lost a couple of fights, has been on the end of some beatings or anything like that. I think you might see him just tempted back in personally, but unless there's obviously a medical reason which we don't know about, but if it's not that, I think you might see him tempted to come back.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about the last fight that Jamie had. It was a bit of a mix-up on the count. I felt he timed the count wrong, getting up on Ryder, and of course Ryder's gone on to really push Callum Smith. So that loss definitely doesn't look as bad as it did at the time, does it?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was a really good fight. I fancied Jamie for that. I was actually there that night, and it looked like he just timed it wrong, which is surprising for a man of his experience. But then he's not been down a lot, not used to being down, is he? So he got up. He looked really surprised. He looked clear-headed, but it's a bit of an error to make, and look what John Ryder's done since then. So as I said, he's been in some big fighters, some big names, and done quite well out of it. I don't know. I think you might see him back.
And I mean, I hope from a Swindon boxing point of view, you're right. I guess I was always one of the ones who thought that if Jamie boxed a little bit more toward us, rather than wearing his heart on his sleeve, which is kind of what he did, which is kind of why he always brought the excitement. But he could have gone a bit further, because he was a Commonwealth gold medalist in the amateurs, wasn't he? And he had the skills. It just he never really seemed to find his true weight. That was always an issue.
Yeah, well, I think he sort of campaigned at super middle at the end, but I think he's a proper middleweight. He's a good, solid middleweight. You saw him when he was in with Groves. He just looked a different size. Groves is a big super middle. I don't think he's very aggressive, and I hear in the gyms, you hear about him being one of the best boxers in the gyms. He goes in with anyone of any caliber and he takes it to them. He's got one way of fighting, and that was just go forward. I don't know if he had a different kind of trainer, and I think, you know, he's had some good trainers, but if he'd have had some different advice, or perhaps listened to the different advice, maybe he could have pushed that just a little bit further. But, you know, he's fought for a world title. You know, Swindon boxer fought for a world title. Who are we to be critical of him, right? You know, he's done really well.
Cracking achievement, and wish him all the best. Let's go on to some of the current fighters then. So Swindon still's got we've still got Ryan Martin, the top welterweight prospect. Couple of losses on his record, so in good company. At the time that we're having this chat, he's been nominated for an English title eliminator, and Sam Antwi has won the English title in the interim time since that announcement from the board has been made. He stopped Darren Tetley with a body shot on an MTK show a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, do you think that when the COVID situation settles down and boxing kind of finds its way back, we'll find a way of getting an Antwi Martin fight if he gets through, obviously, his eliminator against Lewis Green?
I'd like to think so. We had him up to 12th in the British, actually. You know, the last few fights he had, just beating the South African champion in his last fight in November on our.
I dare you to say his surname, Mark. Who?
Hold on. Mitsolo Ikwande. So go on.
Well done, sir. I tip my hat to you. Well done. Yeah. That was a good fight, that was.
It was a great fight. And this guy came to win as well, you know, and he was a South African champion. And he, you know, we could see in his conditioning and his, you know, he was there. He was a good quality, good caliber. But those body shots from Ryan, he's something special. I do think now that with him being with Adam Booth, that's a cracking setup. You know, he's trained and managed by Adam Booth now. Adam Booth doesn't have a massive stable of boxers. You know, he's got, you know, who's he got? Conlon, and he's got some great boxers. He only works with potential champions or champions. So
Josh Kelly, of course, Mark.
Kelly, and he's sparring quite a lot with Ryan. So he's in with this English eliminator fight against a really decent guy. He's got a very similar record with a couple of losses when he's
2 losses, similar company.
Yeah, similar company. So I would imagine someone like Adam Booth has said, if you want to go somewhere and you think you're good enough, you've got to beat guys like this. And if he does beat someone like that, it's a bit of a statement, isn't it? So, you know, Adam Booth's one of the best in the business. Good setup over there. So be really interested to see what kind of Ryan Martin, because on his day, Ryan Martin can mix it. I've seen, you know, in the sparring that we've seen with, he's as good as anyone out there. It's just that little bit extra. So he's just sometimes just falling a little bit short in the big fights. And is it psychological? Is it a trainer? Who knows? But Adam Booth will get a grip on him because we'll sort him out. And if he's good enough, Adam Booth will certainly get the best out of him. Interesting to see. You know, he's up to 12th, I think, in the rankings now, which is great. So he's on the cusp of some really big things. He's been ticking over and training all through lockdown. Just no intention of fighting during lockdown, as I understand, but keeping ticking over, keeping sparring, keeping his ready first. So I think you'll see big things out of him this year.
And he does live the life, doesn't he, Ryan? He's always in tremendous shape. He's very media. You know, he's a good-looking fella. He's a charming fella. You know, he's really got the full package, and he can punch to the body. And Lewis Green was stopped with body shots.
Yeah.
So that's very promising, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I've watched that video recently again of when he stopped the South African. Oof, you know, and I wince every time I see those body shots going in. You know, great body shot, great puncher in Ryan, and he, like you said, he ticks all the boxes.
Lovely job. Now, so Luke Watkins, Swindon's former Commonwealth cruiserweight champion. A couple of losses on his record in good company, but a couple of nice wins on TV as well, both on Matchroom shows and I believe on a McGuigan show, which was televised on Channel 5. He's been out for a long time, hasn't he?
Yeah, and there was a couple of, I think, last-minute pull-offs out of our shows that it was just so difficult to get matched because he's a top 10 fighter who can punch a bit, you know, and there's, you know, we wanted to get him on, I think, Fight Town 3, and I think a week before the show, we just couldn't get him matched. You know, we had somebody agree, then they pull out, then somebody else agreed, then they pulled out, and nobody wants to go in with him. You know, the thing is everyone above him is only worth fighting if it's going to be in a really big title. Everyone in sort of like the next 10 places, 15 places below him don't want to fight him unless it's for a title of some description. And everyone further down the pecking order, not interested because he's just too dangerous. So it's really difficult to match locally. But he's with Tony Borg now, who's a really good trainer. I'm not sure the promotional deal he's got, but I do hear that there's some news coming, some big fight, and he's in training. I'm seeing he's training regularly. So hopefully some big news around the corner for Luke. Excited to watch. I'd love to get him back in Swindon at some stage. He's always entertaining. Brings a good crowd with him.
Tremendous, powerful. You know, really, he's really a fantastic fighter, really, in the kind of peak of his career. I was having a look through the cruiserweight title picture. Really, it's shifted around a bit. You've got you've obviously got Lawrence Sokoli. He's moved on to bigger and better. He's got a world title shot. You've got you had Richard Riakporhe as the British champ, of course, the British title that Luke got stopped for when he fought at the York Hall that time against Sokoli. But Riakporhe is no longer the champion, and now we've got Dion Juma and Chris Billum-Smith, who's not from a million miles away, fighting for that title, the British, which kind of I don't know. Could Luke fit in the winner? I'm not sure. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the what fights are scheduled for those guys, but I know Billum-Smith's obviously a matchroom fighter now. They quite fancy him and got some deal with him, you know. So Tony Borg's had his fighters on some of the matchroom shows, so I'm not sure. But he, you know, I could certainly see him in a mix with them. I can't see him fighting anyone outside the top 10. There's nothing in it for him. And at his stage of his career now, he needs to be pushing on for some big titles, doesn't he? So, you know, but he hasn't fought for a while. So is there a tick-over fight just to get him, you know, to blow the cobwebs off? Or like everyone's saying now that people are just anxious to get on and go for the big fights?
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, Mark, isn't it? The situation that fighters are in, because they put in a career's worth of work to get to championship contention, the likes of Ryan and Luke. And obviously they want to get rid of the ring rust, like you say, but the opportunity for getting a fight on a card is so limited now that no one's getting tune-ups. It's get in there and get paid stuff for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, I do think it probably changed a little bit. You know, we had these, you know, there's lots of these 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, 11-0 who still fighting the journeyman with the losing records. That may well change now, and people just want to just see the good fights. They won't want to go and see a one-sided card against the local ticket seller against the journeyman. So hopefully that might change the landscape, which makes the shows more entertaining. Because it's all, you know, there's a place for the journeyman for the debut 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, because they've got to, you know, cut their teeth. They've got to go from a 4-round to a 6-round to an 8-round, you know. So there's a place for them. But certainly someone like Luke, who's been out for a while now, he's not going to want somebody with a losing record as a tune-up, because he'll go and stop him in 2 rounds and won't benefit anything at all. So hopefully it might just be, you know, the fight fans who win out of that with some better match fight, better cards.
Definitely. I just want to finish up really. A few numbers looking at Swindon venues. So we've got the Mecca left. We've got Play Football Arena, which you've done shows in at the. The Mecca has a 1,000 capacity. So with current COVID regulations, you could sell 500 tickets. But when you look at all the rules and regulations about testing and zoning and bubbling, am I right in just saying at the moment there's no way back for off TV small hall boxing?
Currently, yeah, you're right. I agree with you. There's no way we're doing it at the moment. I mean, TV have obviously got the money, haven't they? Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and even Hennessy with Channel 5 to do behind closed door shows. But, you know, with having to go into a bubble 72 hours before to be tested, no fans. I mean, 70% of our revenue comes from ticket sales. If there's no ticket sales, there's no income. There's not enough money to put a show on. Who's going to pay for it? And all these extra requirements for, even though we're allowed to put a show on, you know, the actual cost of doing it is just makes it not feasible. You know, the guy might normally turn up on a Saturday with his trainer, weigh in, do a medical, fight Saturday night and go home. Now he's got to turn up on Wednesday, do a test. You know, if it gets a clear test, he's got to stay in his hotel for a couple of days, him and his trainer, and all the promoters got to pay for that. And, you know, the testing, that's £130 a pop for the boxer, his entourage, all the medical. It's just, you know, it's just not feasible. I mean, it used to cost us, you know, for like a small hall show at somewhere like the Oasis, that might cost me 40, 50 grand to put a show on. Those costs have probably gone up now, but the income's gone down 70%. So, you know, there is no shows at the moment. But even when they start to lift the restrictions, like you mentioned earlier, and you might be able to get 50% in, the numbers still can't stack. You know, there's a maximum of 9 fights. The extra testing and the social distancing, I don't think it makes it feasible. If you ask me my opinion of when promoters like myself will be back, I've got dates booked in September, and I'm confident those will be back on. The ones I've got this side of the summer, and I had dates in March, in May, in June, I'm not looking at those. I don't, you know, because he's going to need a couple of months to promote a show anyway. And can we plan a couple of months? You know, will we know a couple of months in advance? Because things have, you know, we've been lured into thinking that they're going to turn all the lights back on, and then they've shut the, you know, turned them off again. So we've got to wait until the lights are on, until we can start even promoting a show. So realistically, I'm telling you, anyone I talk to, I'm telling them September. I'm telling that to the boxers, any boxers I work with, the managers, and realistically, September. Anyone who tells a boxer it's going to be a lot earlier than that, you know, they're not being quite truthful with them, because who knows? But realistically, September.
Lovely. Well, thanks ever so much for your time, Mark, and yeah, really appreciate it. And hopefully, I'll see you underneath the lights, and we'll be back with Swindon Boxing in September then.
I do think when it comes back, it's going to be back with a bang. I mean, I've spoken to a couple of people. I mean, boxers are just itching to fight. People are itching to go and watch boxing. I don't know about you. You know, we're boxing fans first and foremost, and I'm missing being sat at ringside watching a real quality toe to toe. And so when the show's all back open, you know, everything opens up again, I'm going to be straight out there. I'm going to be, you know, my wife's going to miss me quite a lot. I'm going to be at boxing shows every week, you know. But I think it's going to, when it comes back, it's going to come back with a bang.
Thanks, Mark, and I'll see you next time.